Okay, let's just test the audio. Test the audio. Okay, why is it not? Okay, hold on. Hold on. Output, headphones. Okay, it needs to not do that anymore. Okay, now let's test the audio. Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, as long as it's in the mid-level, let me post the links here. Can I just, let's not have that on. How do I get the links to you? Can I just click on it? Yes, I can. Perfect. Yoink. Okay. Okay, all right, so that's all posted. That should be good. The audio was fine last I tested, so we're gonna go with that. Hopefully this time it won't be shit. I don't know what was up with Rhiannon's computer. But yeah, okay, cool. So today I planned on going over basic character controller stuff and input. So I'm gonna start just with like a very basic top-down control. It's gonna just be moving a square up, down, left, right. You probably saw, we did that with the button last time, but I'll show that again. I wanted to then move to, I think, platform controls. That's going to be significantly harder because there's a lot more that goes into that. But that's an interesting thing to cover just because, I mean, there is so much going on with it. And then maybe 3D. And actually, depending on what, so what are the actually mini games that you guys are doing? So since y'all are here, I might as well accommodate you. So I'll do mouse controls for you, but which one's yours?
Yeah, I need mouse controls.
Mouse controls?
Yeah.
Which game is yours?
Mine's like a shooting game.
What's the title of it so I can shoot 'em? Where is it? Is it here?
I have not
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I haven't put mine.
Okay, so wait, is it like is it like 3D first person or?
It's just like 2D first person.
Gotcha. So it's like the bird shooting game from like Nintendo, Duck Hunt. Yeah. And yours?
So mine's 3D. Basically, you're controlling a car with audio input.
Interesting. Okay, so I can actually go over how to do microphone input.
Okay.
In here. How are you planning on doing the car with the audio?
I was experimenting with stuff. What I was trying was not working.
Oh, okay. Well, so like, I guess like, are you like using, is it like, the volume of your voice is like determining the angle of the wheel, or is it like what's going on with the
speed?
The speed? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I can do that. I like brought up, I think, a web page for that. No, not this one. Was it? No, it was not this one. Yeah. So I'll just be copying and pasting this code and then seeing if that works. Guys, let me tell you right now. You get better, but you get better by knowing what to Google. All right, that's like that. I mean, like that's that's what you do. Okay, yeah. So, but let's just do really basic input. So for now, since it's 2D, in 2D you can work both on the canvas or not. Frankly, I don't know. The biggest difference I know with the canvas is just that you get the rect transform stuff, which renders and also the fact that the canvas renders over things in the world. I don't know if there's like a special reason you would want to go in 3D space or in the canvas. But for now, what we're just going to do is I'm going to create a sprite in the 2D canvas. This is like a new scene, but you don't have to. Also, if my like screen messes up, I'm on like the newest version of Unity, and like just occasionally, let me see if I can have it happen. There it is. It'll do that, which is really fun. I don't know. I do not know. This only happens on my Mac, and I fix it by going back to look. It's great. Unity is a great product. Like I don't know how you like break that in the beta, but granted they are like they changed the UI, so sure. Regardless, so creating a sprite. The neat thing about sprites is that it doesn't come with a default thing on it, which is really annoying. You can't see it; it's just invisible. So I'm gonna make it like this input field thing, which is a square. It's also really tiny, so I'm gonna make it like 5 by 5. Yeah. Now you'll notice I changed the Z and that didn't do anything. It's a 2D object, so it doesn't actually matter. I normally like to make it, like I compulsively do this just because I do a lot of stuff in 3D, so like when I scale, I try to do it that way. Part of me also thinks, man, if you set it to 0, that's like, that's just wrong. So, you know, I just be like, again, I just like having it be consistent. It doesn't super matter. Regardless, yeah, so we got this. We got this object. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new script. I'll just call it, I guess, top-down. Because this is going to be a top-down controller. Obviously, it depends on what, like, it doesn't, you might not actually be looking top-down. It could just be you're looking at it frontwards and it's going up. I don't really know. Regardless, this is generally how top-down things work. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the script. You can either double-click on it in there or right-click and hit Edit Script. Oh, actually, let me also get this working. What? Okay, that needs to not happen. Code Watcher. Okay. And then what is the directory we're working with here? We are working with. Let us do. That should be fine as long as I do assets. Where is this? God damn it, I hate when it does this. Just like give me the actual location, you jerk. God damn. Alright, hold on. Documents, capital D document. Unity. Character. Let's see if this works. What do you mean unrecognized? Oh, right. What is it? L? No such file or directory. Interesting choice. Okay, well, hold on. Boy, howdy, do I not like this. Okay. Why is it adding those extra characters? Why would it do this? Why is it doing the same thing every single time? Okay, all right, I don't. Hold on, let me just see if this. Will be nice. I'll try one last time, and if it doesn't work, then we're just going to move on. It's fine. That is fascinating that that is the default thing. Okay, I don't care anymore. So yeah, we'll just open up this. I wanted to have a thing where you could read the code online. You cannot now, so just you'll have to bear with me here. Okay. So for this, it's actually super simple. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the transform dot position, because we're moving it, plus equals a new vector 3 of input dot, I'm sorry that I'm not explaining things. I'll do it once I have everything out there. Input dot get axis of horizontal. Let me make this bigger. So I wish I had Rhiannon here so she could read the chat if people had chat messages, but that's fine. So we'll have horizontal, and then for the y, we will get vertical, and then 0. So what's going on here? Actually, let me just show you that this works, and then I'll explain what's going on. If Unity will do stuff. OK. So you'll notice, now that I hit play, hopefully, yep, wow, that's really fast. Actually, does anyone want to tell me why it's going really fast? Anyone remember from Flappy Bird? Time dot. Delta time, there you go. Yeah, so if you ever wonder why is this thing going really fast, or why is this like, yeah, the answer is why is it going really fast? The answer is always delta time. That's, yeah, you're just gonna have to remember to put it there. I did this previously and I remembered it there, but then I didn't. But good learning experience. Don't forget delta time. It's always important whenever you're doing stuff every frame. Now you'll notice it goes really slow, but it's manageable now. But yeah, so it does work. So what is actually happening? So Unity has this thing called getAxis. You set that up with the input manager. I will show you how to do that. But basically what we're doing is we're adding to the position some vector of input.getAxis, horizontal and vertical. You will note that this should probably, hopefully it's kind of intuitive, right? When you do W or A and D, it goes left and right, that is horizontal. W and S, up and down, vertical. It also works with the arrow keys. That's the neat thing. Again, Unity's default input system, the default inputs that they set up are like try to be pretty universal. They have like weird things where like fire is control. Like why would you do that? Like no what? And I think they had like on the controller. I don't know. Like I'm not sure if it's just computer based. Jump is like the Y button, not the A button. Are you an insane person? Like I don't know. Doesn't matter. But let me show you the input system. Just show you what's going on here. If you go to project settings, which is under file, or is it edit? Yeah, edit, project settings. If you're in a recent version of Unity, a thing will pop up which you can dock, which I would recommend. So it'll probably pop up like this. Just grab that tab and then shove it in your scene tab thing. And so that'll be better. This is really large. Regardless, there's a tab on this thing called the Input Manager. Is everyone here? Raise your hand if you're not. OK, cool. And you'll notice axes. Wow, hold on. This just said get axis. That's a neat reference. Yeah, so axes, right? And wow, horizontal and vertical. You'll notice there's, I think there should be 2 of them. So horizontal, vertical. You'll notice in here, again, I wish this was bigger. This is not my favorite. But you'll see, wow, horizontal, name, horizontal, descriptive name, doesn't have one. But negative, positive, left and right, that's the arrow keys. That's what they're called. Again, they're really annoying thing. So Unity is working or has been working on this new input system, which is much more declarative. Right now it's with strings. So right, like if I did this, so it won't accept it, but like it doesn't tell you which ones are acceptable. So you just have to like know. It's fairly intuitive, like backspace, I think is backspace. Just, be careful about that. Regardless, you'll see negative button and then positive button. So what this is doing is it's saying, OK, when I press this left button, that will make this horizontal axis a -1. when I press this positive button, it will make it a positive 1. And so you'll see here, right? When I do this vector thing, when I'm getting the axis, I'm doing negative, like if I press the A here, right? I think it's I'm getting -1 in that X thing. So I go left. Yes, left. Or however you're oriented, it goes the right direction. And if I press the other one, it's a positive 1, so it goes right. Same with the vertical axis. The neat thing is, by default, what it does is it gives it smoothing. So you'll notice when I do this, right, there's it's hard to tell, but you can kind of see there's a bit of gravity, right? Like when I start moving forward, it's a bit sticky, right? It takes some time to speed up, and it takes some time to slow down. Generally, so you want that kind of smoothing by default. That's what this is, gravity in sensitivity, I think. Yes. So gravity determines how fast it will go back to its normal position. So I think if we change this back, if we change this to 1,000, it will stop immediately. And if we change sensitivity to 1,000, it will go to its max immediately. Now, if you're working with a controller, right, because it has so the neat thing about horizontal and vertical is that if you're working with a controller, it will actually tell, if you're working with the thumbstick, I don't know if this is on screen, right? If you do it like that, it'll go to 0.5, right? So horizontal and vertical automatically understand that this is a continuous or an analog input, not a digital. With the PC, that's why they have the sensitivity and gravity thing, is because when you press A, that's that's binary, right? And you don't want that to be really snappy. So actually, if we set these both to 1,000 on horizontal, you will notice it's right, it's a bit snappier. Again, it's harder to tell because it's we're not moving very fast. Let me actually add public float speed equals, let's make it 5. And then you just multiply that scalar to this speed. Again, another very important thing, whenever you have some kind of input, generally speaking, you're going to want to add some kind of scalar to it. When you do look sensitivity, don't just hard code that stuff. People want to modify that, especially people, not only the end user, but you're gonna be man, this is the perfect speed, and you put in 5. And the problem is every time you change that 5 in the code, not in the inspector, that it has to recompile. If your game gets really big, if you have a bunch of numbers baked in here, and if you had 10 baked in here, well, every time you change that 10 to something else, the game has to recompile all the code. Which is fine if it's literally one thing, but that piles up. So make make a public variable, and you get this speed of 5. You can modify this in real time.
How do you get that speed in the inspector?
Public. Did you make a public? Public float.
No.
Yeah. So when you make a variable public in Unity, it will automatically serialize it. What serialize means is that it at the most basic, it means that it goes in the inspector. On a higher level, serialization means that there is some sort of communication going on between things, and that communication is in fact the Unity editor to the scene directly. So basically what happens is the Unity editor says, okay, cool, I'll just take this number, I will serialize it down to binary, and I'll send it to you, and you can save it. Or you can use it. So that's, you probably would know more about, people, you would use serialization more if you're into integrated hardware. If you do integrated systems, serialization is how you communicate, for instance, Arduino, how that communicates between stuff. Regardless, just make it public. That means that you can see it. You can also do a different thing. So if I made this private, and everything's private by default, if I did a thing called serialize field in this brackets here, that will also do the same thing. The nice thing about doing it this way, it's more verbose, but this is I don't know if you all have taken 2340 or I guess even 1331 and 2, and they're real sticklers. Yeah, I mean, they're regardless, in your Java classes, you're probably gonna your teacher's gonna be super sticklers about like, oh man, this thing has to be private and you have to use a getter and a setter because that's like safe coding practices. That's true. That's real. Now, obviously, when you're making games, you don't give a shit. So like again, like when I write code, I try to do this because it's good. Also, C# is really nice. Like there's a lot of cool ways of doing getters and setters that doesn't involve like cluttering your code up with like 10,000 different functions. I won't tell you about it because it's a lot of stuff. Just note that if you Google C# getter setter, there's like some fancy things you can do with that. Don't worry about it. Just make it public. Nobody cares. Basically, it's only important really when you're working on like a team and you know you don't need to like like, oh, somebody might mess with this variable and they shouldn't. But like, only if it's let's just say, really it's only when you have to worry about death of the author, right? Like if you're like gone from your code and somebody reads it like over there and they just can't contact you, if it's like a team of 5, they can be like, you can say, oh, yo, you shouldn't be modifying that variable, right? Again, we've spent 30 minutes and like I'm talking about coding practices. Don't worry about it too much. Just note that these are options for you. But like honestly, if you're trying to be nimble, don't even like. I don't know if y'all are going to be taking video game courses, but in all of my CM courses, we do prototypes like weekly, and we have to make a game in a week or less. Among all of our other classes, CS students don't have to do this as much. But in that case, if you're doing a thing in like a week, just like don't type serialize field. Like that's going to take forever. Just write public. Like nobody cares. No one does. Yeah. So again, this is all on like compile time stuff. Don't even worry about it. But yeah. So when you make it public, that's what's going to happen. But I don't know if it's hard to tell just because I think OBS is on and it's like making my frame rate not great. But like the horizontal movement is very fast and immediate, if you can tell, and then like right up and down is very slow. You'll see like. Bit sticky, immediate, right? Do you see this? That's what the gravity and sensitivity does. So actually, what I want you guys to do is do what I did. So change gravity and sensitivity to 1,000, so it's immediate. What we're going to do is we're going to add our own gravity and sensitivity, or our own smoothing, because I prefer rolling my own than working with this one. Unity's default gravity and sensitivity is kind of garbage. It's okay, it works. But it's not very customizable. So yeah, again, it's in the input manager. Change gravity and sensitivity in horizontal and vertical. You'll notice there are 2 of them. Change the first one. You'll see in the second one, this is what it's set to is joystick x-axis. So that's like the reason there are 2 of them is to get from the controller. So the issue is that this is global. So if you do this actually within game, you're changing it for everyone. It's fine. I would prefer people are using Unity's default. Again, this is why I don't like it, right? Because if you're trying to do different kind of smoothing in different areas, you can't. So I'd rather if you're pressing a digital button, that digital button shouldn't have any kind of gravity or sensitivity. It should just be down, right? That's it. So we're gonna roll our own. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just a vector 3, and I'm going to call this velocity. And then I'll comment this out because I don't really need this right now. What we're going to be doing is rather than changing position, we're going to be changing velocity. But we're not going to be changing it immediately. Now, what you could easily do is a kind of spacey thing. So the most obvious thing that is we can just plus equals velocity with this, and then every frame we do transform position plus equals velocity, right? So basically what we're doing is our input is a force upon our velocity every frame, right? And then we're changing that, and then we're changing the position by the velocity. So this is like classic Newtonian mechanics going on right here. And this you should be able to see very simply what's going on. So if you wanted to make like asteroid, for instance, this is what you would do. And sorry, I'll go back to the code if you're still working on that. I just want to show what this does. So by default, it should be 0. Oh boy, I'm going fast. But yeah, let me not make that 5. Let me make that 0.1. Oh, guess what? Bruh. Every single time. It's going to get you. Always remember, if it goes fast, it's because you didn't put delta time. So let me make that back to like 1. But yeah, so let's just say you're doing like classic asteroid. I think classic asteroid does have the like acceleration thing where if you just keep going, it'll keep moving. Right, so if I keep going, now it'll maintain its velocity. All right, now I have to like hold it down to move it backwards. Is that, you seeing that? Right, so like that's, I mean, it's horrible, it's awkward, and I don't like it. Right, if we make this like back to like 5 or whatever. Actually, real talk, I should be doing this as well. You can change this while it's playing, so if I change this to 10, right, that also works. Let's change it to like 3. All right, so this is a bit more snappy. Let's make this like, or let's make it 6, double it. Yeah, a lot more snappy. Right, so very much like asteroids or whatever. So like, you know, if you wanted to have a gravity-less thing, you could do that. Let's just say you want to do like lunar lander, in fact. Well, okay, cool. Then let's also, instead of also doing velocity, we do velocity plus a new vector 3 of 0, negative, I don't know, 1, 0. So like now it's going to constantly go down, right? So this is like something that's constantly falling. Granted, it's not exactly a lunar lander because I should be adding this to the velocity constantly, right? Because gravity is an acceleration, not a force or not a velocity. But I don't care. So we're just going to do it this way. So yeah, this should, in theory, go down really slowly over time. Yep, and then, you know, I can apply force that brings it back up. But of course, yeah, so, right. Yo.
Why the multiplying by time actually slows it down?
Right, so what happens is update is happening every frame, right?
Yeah.
So every frame could be different for a lot of people, right? For like my beast of machine at home, I could do a frame every 0.00000, like really small number 1 seconds. For, you know, like a shitty computer, that could be upwards of 1 frame a second. Like it could be really bad. And for this one, it's pretty fast, but not super fast. So like it's kind of middle of the road. But let's just say it's going to be going without delta time, right? Every 0.000, let's just say this is 0.001 seconds. Every 0.001 seconds, it's moving 1 whole unit. That's a big number for 0.00 seconds, right? What time.delta time does is it normalizes it, right? It says, okay, in 1 second, or so like, you know, it took me this long to render the frame, so I'm multiplying that by my distance, which should be, so it should shorten it. Therefore, it goes that distance. It normalizes it, so every movement of 1 unit is uniform across every single computer. You'll notice these are going to be like, these are problems in like Bethesda games, if you've ever done that. If you ever like messed with their physics on like a PC and you like doubled the frame rate from like 60, actually even from like 30, like if you touch a cup, it'll go, that is because that physics is fixed to a certain frame rate. So when you are double that frame rate, it goes double the fast. This actually happened in Dark Souls where the durability was somehow tied to the frame rate. Yeah, so like if you had a more powerful machine, when you slashed with a sword, it would do like 10 times as much durability damage to your sword, so you'd break your sword so fast, or something like that. Like a mod had to fix it. But yeah, so this is a big problem in games. There are various ways of solving it. There's a thing called void fixed update, or yeah, that does that. This is done not every delta time frame. This is done every physics frame. So stuff that happens in physics, do this in fixed update. We might be going over this. It took a long time to get like this far, so maybe not. But The thing is, if you do update and you're doing something every frame that is like movement based, or let's just say has some effect on the world that isn't like immediate or just one time, if it's over the course of if it's like if you're applying something over the course of time, always include time to delta time. Yeah, you need to, because otherwise it's going to be tied to the frame rate, and that's bad unless you explicitly want to. Like honestly, I wanted to make a game. That like was tied to the frame rate, but was interesting about it. So like, you had to keep going, but as you kept going, like I would explicitly do things in the code to make performance get worse and worse. Or like you're in a car and you're trying to be like the coolest guy like ever, so like you keep souping out your car with like the coolest performance mods, so that's like decreasing your frame rate on your computer. I don't know. I think that like that could work or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, no. Like unless you explicitly want something not to be tied to the like, it's very rare that you're going to be like, yeah, I want this to be different on different frame rates, because that would be weird, right? Like, you know, I mean, like it would be interesting if you had an enemy in a game that's like, yeah, if you have a shitty computer, this enemy is really easy to kill because he just goes really slow. But I mean, hey, you know, again, probably not, right? In most cases. So this is the basic acceleration controller, but we're not going to do that one. What we're going to do is we are going to do some lerping. So what we want is not this. We want velocity to equal vector3.lerp velocity, comma. Okay, so here's actually, and before we do this, we will need to do a new vector. So vector3, and I'm sorry I'm not explaining this, but I will. So vector3, let's call it move input equals a new vector3. Actually, this basically what we have up here. So we can just copy that. That's fine. So this is just making what we had up there explicitly a new variable, or just a new was instance variable. I always forget the name of the terminology for this stuff. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Wait, what? There's like what kind of variable would this be? Like an inner function would like.
That would
It's like
be
instance.
a local.
Local. That sounds right. Local variable. New local variable. The reason we're doing this is because we wanted to get move input. Does anyone know what lerp is in here? Lerp is a linear interpolate. It's often, yeah, so it is usually contracted down to lerp, which is a funny word. But what that means is in lerp, what you do, so like in a, let's just do for a for a float, mathf.lerp. So everything has a lerp. This is easiest to understand with a float. But so let's just say we have 0, which is, no, actually, this is, so like if we have 5 and then 6 and then 0.5, the result of this function will be 5.5. So what's happening here is we have start number, end number, and then amount 0 or percent between them, between 0 and 1. So at 0, this would equal 5. At 1, this would equal 6. At 0.5, it's exactly halfway between that. Does that make sense with you guys? So it's a really convenient function. And you can also lerp other things. So in this case, we're lerping between velocity and move input. So you can lerp between, in theory, you can think about this in two different ways. So vector threes, you can either think of them as, you know, vectors of this is some kind of speed, or you can think of them as points in space, right? So like imagine, you know, if we have this at one point in space and this at another point in space, if I lerped between, you know, this and this, you know, halfway it'll be here, right? So if you want to ever find, you know, the midpoint of something, if you ever want to, let's just say, have like an elevator, right? You can have, well, a start position, an end position, and you can lerp between it. And like, you know, it can be like a funky elevator, right? Like it can go in kind of like different, you know, angles. But here we're lerping speeds. So imagine, how to think about this? Basically, it's like applying, how to explain this well? Basically, imagine, because every frame, okay, this is not going to be, oh no, I have distance, that's fine. If you could think about, like, does anyone know Zeno's paradox? Okay. Sorry, this is like, I think about concepts and also like more esoteric concepts, and somehow that helps me learn. We have 2 points, right? Halfway is here, halfway is here, halfway is here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you keep going halfway, you'll never actually get there, right?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And so that's what lerp does, right? So imagine every single frame, what I'm doing is I'm lerping halfway. Now we're not actually going to lerp halfway because that's a bit fast, but imagine we're lerping halfway. The effect in real time is, because linear interpolation is just linear, right? So if we went from 0 to 1, it would just kind of like do this, right? But if we're just lerping halfway every frame, or like 0.1 every frame, let's just do halfway because that's easy to do, it's going to have this kind of like parabolic effect, right? Because we're starting fast, going big, then smaller increments. It's going to seem like we're approaching slowly, right?
Yeah.
Like that. So it's going to be smooth, right? So that's what I'm trying to get back to is smooth movement, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, if it doesn't make sense, ever like stop me because I can always do it.
It's between the input from the horizontal vertical axis and velocity.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
So like when you're doing vector 3 dot lerp, you're entering the 2 points that it's interpolating between.
So in this, I told you points first. Don't think about them as points; they're velocities, right? So what I'm doing is imagine move input is 0 and you're moving, right? If you're moving and the move input is 0, right? You're not touching anything. What it'll do is it will lerp like this slowly. It'll smooth just to a stop.
So we're thinking about that as a graph. That's a velocity graph.
Think about it like a speed graph, because velocity I assume would have both an x and a y. But yeah, speed. Yes, yeah, you're correct.
Gradual slowness.
Yes.
But we're never actually going to like come to a complete stop.
Yeah. So because of the computer, you might, I don't know like what'll happen with the float precision, but like basically it'll get to like smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's gonna be like, yo, you just can't even have a smaller number than that in this computer.
So at a certain point, just automatically default.
I don't know. I think it doesn't. I actually think it'll go on forever. It'll try to keep going. In fact, I think it'll just lose float precision, in which case it'll just kind of like float around in like this really small number space. Yeah, I don't like just you could. If you want like take like systems classes if you want to actually know what's going to happen. I think what always happens is it just keeps going on forever because again Zeno's paradox kicks in and numbers can get real friggin' small on computers. So it can I've never actually sat there and waited to see what if it actually coalesces on a number. Yeah, so actually if you do want it to hit exactly 0, you're going to have to overshoot a bit. And then just have like an if statement to say, hey, if you hit, if you're beyond 0, stop. Don't worry about that, honestly, because in this case we don't actually care, right? Because if it's at if it's moving 0.00000 like really small number, it's basically stopped in your mind. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Now again, if you like legitimately do care, you can.
Probably care.
Yeah.
Like my OCD would care.
Yeah, no, like and mine does as well. Like when you see it, you'll like the numbers. Like if you actually see this number in Unity, like in the inspector, it's like, negative or like 1e negative, like a really small number. So yeah, so you're like, yeah, I hate it. It's really bad. It's like it's like 1.379 whatever, and like I hate it. Regardless, let's make it 0.3 f. Actually, no, I'm dumb. Don't do what I did. We're gonna do smooth. We're going to make another variable, and we're going to make this 0.3. 0.3 is normally a good number. We're going to try it. But yeah, and again, so basically bigger numbers means it'll converge faster. Smaller means it'll converge slower. Let's see if this works. Maybe oh, wait, no, hold on. It won't work. What am I doing? Because we have to do that, and then we also then have to God damn it. Hold on. Transform dot position plus equals velocity. Let's see how that works. So hopefully, oh boy.
Wait,
Yep, I probably.
This isn't because of delta time.
It is because of delta time. I hate myself so much. So you can also notice we should probably, so in this case, the smoothing is happening per frame. Generally 0.3 is good undelta timed, but notice this actually is affected by that problem of delta time. So you can times time.delta time here as well. What this will do is this will make it really slow, so smooth might actually not be 0.3, but in fact, like, let's do 2, and then we'll see. Granted, if I change 2 here, it won't actually change in here because it's already serialized, so I'll make it 2. Not what I want. Okay, let's try this. Let me make it like, let's make it like 10. See if it was just the smoothing that was the issue. I can also change it in real time. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's make the smooth like a lot faster. But yeah, you'll notice it is smoothed, right? And this is not smooth. Oh, I know why. That is because I didn't actually put speed in there. So move input times speed. Right, because we don't want to go to move input, which is a unit vector basically, right? We want to go to speed. Actually, what? Yeah. Yeah, so the cool thing about C# is that it will automatically, like or at least these structs, is that when you multiply the vector by a scalar, it will do that math. It won't be like, yo, you can't multiply a float node like a vector struct. That's dumb. It'll be like, yo, we got you. But no, actually, this is not a unit vector, right? Have you ever played old games and you've held W and D and gone sideways, and it's actually faster? You'll notice this is a thing in old games because they didn't think about, oh shit, maybe if they held both, because what happens is, right, it goes 0, 1 and 0, 1. So when you hold 1, you just go in positive 1 speed, right? If you hold both, you go positive 1 speed, like positive 1 speed root 2, right? Because that's what like that is, right? That's what that vector. So here, in fact, we will go faster when we hold down 2. You can fix this by unit vectorifying it, which we're not going to do because I don't really care. But note that you can. The issue with unit vectorifying is that if you, because like you can actually do this very easily, dot normalized. The issue with dot normalizing it is that, so when it's 0, 0, 0, it works fine. Like, so for keyboard controls, this works fine. If we're using a controller, if you have it at like a exact thing, right? If you're not at the very terminal edges of it, it won't normalize correctly. So like imagine you're kind of halfway between here, like imagine you're like about here, it will normalize it to be 1. So like you can't do the halfway, you have to do a bit more work. It's not a huge thing, and I'll show you one of my first-person controllers which does it. Again, I'm telling you all these things, you probably are like, yes, that's a good idea, and then I'll forget about this because I'm not seeing it in front of me. Y'all are smart. Like I know, like what'll happen is you're going to encounter, like I will tell you these things, you're going to encounter a problem, you're going to probably forget what I told you, but you can just figure it out yourself. Just Google it. It is fine. Just note that, that issue of 1, 1 creates 1 root 2 as whenever you're going diagonal. But in this case, because we normalize it, now it should be fine. But again, maybe you want to have it go faster on the diagonal. Who knows? But this should go fine. So now we'll go like really fast. Yep, but you'll see, wow, we're really smooth. If we change the smooth to like 10, right? Now it's stickier. Let's make it like.
Can you explain this real quick? You might have probably explained it earlier, but I was typing the code, so I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that's cool.
What are the parameters that you're passing through lerp? What exactly do each of those parameters do?
Right. So.
Velocity, I'm assuming that velocity is just the original velocity you're plugging in, and then you're modifying it to get a new velocity.
So lerp in all cases is always, so depends on like what you're lerping, but like, so if it's a number, right? It's, okay, we're fine. So if it's a number, it's just going to be, like if it's 1, 2, and then 0.5, it's always going to be, the first number is the first number that you want to go from, the number you want to go to, and how far between you want to go. So this would be 1.5, right? Because it's 0.5 between the two. If this was 6, what is that, like 3.5 or something like that? Yeah, 3.5. For vectors, it is, 1, imagine, so like if it's like 0, 0, 0, comma, 1, 1, 1, and then 0.5, what would this be?
0.5 for all three.
Exactly, yes. So the interesting thing is, because we're saving the velocity, again, we get this effect, right? Because what'll happen is, imagine we were doing this, right? So, because obviously it's like 1, 1, 0, right? That's like a movement vector, right? Imagine, right? Because that's going diagonal. Obviously, it would be normalized, but in this case, so what'll happen is it'll be 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. My 5s are bad. Don't worry about it. 0. Then again, between this and this would be 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, right, or 0.0. Then again, I don't know what that is, because that's what, like 0.125. So like, again, but yeah. So it'll again never get to 111. It'll always get there, right? Because we're saving it, right? If we didn't save it, imagine if velocity was just, a local vector, or vector 3. Right? So we're making a completely new vector every single time. Obviously, this doesn't work because we have like a mismatched vector. Or rather, you can't do this because we're referencing a thing, but it doesn't matter. So if we had a new vector every single time, then it would just be constantly 0.5, right? Because it would just be between that one static vector and another static vector, you'd get a new static vector. Whereas here, because we're changing it, you get this effect. This is an important thing, like legit, straight up, this is very important because this is how you make menus kind of juicy. And by juicy, that effect, like that term is used generally to be like, oh, the animations are cool and fun, it feels nice, right? But like you can get a smooth effect to it. Let me just see if I can't open up let's do this one. Yeah, let's hope this works. This is a game I did in like a few hours, and it barely works, but I got an A because it's pass fail when you turn it in, so that's fine. But yeah, you'll notice that effect of it flipping, that effect of that thing getting bigger and then getting smaller, that's all lerping. Okay, you can get like really simple, easily, like without touching animations, without touching anything, you can very easily get kind of nice looking effects, like decent. Also, people on stream might not be seeing this because it's full screen app, but don't worry about it. You can get kind of decent effects just by lerping. And so yeah, that's like, again, I want to tell you guys about lerping, not because it is critical to character controllers, but it's also critical just to all doing to everything. Lerping is very nice, very helpful in games, knowing that if you lerp a thing constantly, that it kind of gives you this parabola thing. That's a very easy and cheap thing to do, and it's really convenient. So, and I'm certain that people do it in every, and even like the biggest of the games, they're like, yo, we lerp the shit out of stuff, all right? Lerping is our game. But you'll notice, right, I changed it to 100. It became very snappy, basically immediate. If I divide it by 10, right, there's a bit of smoothing, right? Yeah. But yeah, so this is a nice top-down thing, right? So I mean, like, imagine here we want to just have a very simple top-down, like a little thing going on. You can totally do that. So you wanted to have like, I don't know, top-down shooter, you can. Now, obviously, we don't know how to use the mouse yet, but we will right now. if I can remember, because I don't use the mouse very often in my games. But let's see, what do we want to do? Right, let's make the thing follow the mouse because that's what you want for yours.
Like a crosshair.
Yeah, like
And actually, yours for yours, it'll be a crosshair as well.
Yeah, I need a crosshair thing.
Now, granted, let's do this on the canvas because it'll be easier to do selection stuff for you on the canvas. You can also be on the canvas as well because yours is 2D exclusively, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's a good idea or not to be. Let's just make sure I didn't fuck up OBS. Okay, we're good. Let's also see if there's no comments here. Awesome. I just want to see if like I missed anything. I know no one's watching. Yeah, we're fine. And I don't even care anymore. Okay. Yeah. So, mouse input. Let's make another script just because we can. So let's actually disable you because we don't need it anymore. Now let's add, where is it? UI canvas. So you'll notice in screen, giant canvas. Really big. In fact, hit 2 on your keyboard or I think there's like a 2D button there. You'll go to 2D view and that's much easier to get around, at least this. And then in this, let us add UI image. Actually, I feel like it's almost cheating using a canvas because we can do. Wait, why is this open? Oh, never mind. Do I want to do it with it? Let's not do it on the canvas first, and then we'll see about doing it later. So we can I'll disable that for now. So not that. Let's add another sprite. 2D objects, sprite. Right-click on the transform. Reset the position. And for the sprite, let's do a circle this time, because why not? Let's make it 5 by 5 by 5. Awesome. So now we have this circle. Let's focus in on it, hitting F. So what do I want to do with this? I want it to follow the mouse. So I'm going to add, I don't know, I'll call it cursor, just because that's essentially what it is.
Oh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's up?
I actually imported I had like a picture that I came up with.
Yeah.
PNG.
Yeah.
So can I just use that instead?
Yeah, totally. I mean, certainly for this, do you want to know how you would use it?
Yeah, because I haven't been able to drag it like into the.
Yeah. So when you import a PNG, let's see if I can find one. Just kind of around here, we have an SVG, not a PNG. All of my PNGs are probably very large. Do I have a PNG in this one? Ugh. There's a good PNG for me to use. Diagrams. No, new drag. That's very large. Let's not do that one.
Is it different for JPG versus PNG?
No, I just want, okay, here's an image file of a car. It doesn't matter. So here, what'll happen is when you import it, you'll just drag it in or you'll put it in the file, right? It'll import. Click on the file and import settings. You want to make that a sprite.
Oh, so you don't want to make it a cursor?
Is there a cursor? Oh yeah, don't do that. Actually,
That's what I was told.
From who? From Rhiannon?
One of my friends. He's.
Oh, I mean, look,
roommate.
if it's because yours is actually explicitly a cursor, sure.
Right, but then like I made it a cursor, and then like I had another object that was like a JPG, and I made that a sprite, and I was able to just put that on the just drag it.
Yeah, the cursor. The issue with the cursor is that I think you have to set it in project settings. I don't know where. I think player is it here? Default cursor. There you go. So go to project settings, and then click on player.
Yeah.
And actually, when in doubt, like every single setting is in player, like even ones that shouldn't be. But yeah, so default cursor, there you go. And then you click on this, and it's a texture 2D, and you can like, now this is my cursor, even though that's a bad idea. So we're not gonna do it.
Okay, wait. So does it matter which block I put it in?
What do you mean?
There's like 2 of them.
Yeah, the default icon is the.
Oh,
That's the launch icon for the thing.
Whoops. Oh god, I put it as default icon. Whoopsies.
I mean, you can do both. Granted, if it's on game, we're gonna make it our own.
Is there a way?
What?
Is there a way like?
Select. If you hit select and then none.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you'd make the cursor. Now, granted, that would require you to show the cursor. I don't know if we're showing the cursor by default in the game. Thing is, again, this is the problem with having global settings, right? Because if we make your cursor visible, maybe it's visible for everyone, and maybe we don't want that.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you how to do it with a sprite, and then we'll see if yours works as a cursor. Because if that works, then that's fine. But like also it'll work as a sprite because I can just make it follow the mouse, which is what everyone would want.
So if you make it as a sprite, will there still be an arrow, like an arrow and a cursor, or just
So I think the cursor is hidden by default in the game. You'll notice, or no. So like what'll happen is it'll have a cursor, but it'll just be the mouse, right? It'll just be this, like the default mouse. Again, I don't like. So you can show and hide the cursor. I don't know if Rhiannon does that in the code, but like if you set the cursor, you can actually set it in code. So actually, for what we'll do is in yours, we can just say on the start of your minigame, it'll set the cursor to that, and at the end, it can unset it, which might work. But again, the thing that I'll be doing now should be more generalizable. It should work for everyone, just as a sprite. So it should be fine.
Okay, I can do that.
So we'll make it the circle. We're not going to do this. I don't like that's bad. So then on this thing, we'll call it nothing. I don't really care. We're just going to make cursor. Edit the script. Okay. What am I doing? Because I feel like I forgot. I think there should be. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do some live Googling. Unity get screen point in world. I think there's like screen to world point is what we're going to be doing. Yep, camera.screen to world point. That should be fine. Yeah, so mouse pause. What? Is it actually getting the mouse pause? What is it doing? Is it actually setting mouse pause anywhere? Oh no, here it is. Yes, current event. Oh, okay, and I guess we can also do that. Okay, so there's, I guess, a few ways of doing it. Let's do it this way, because this seems fun. So, again, live Googling. I'm doing this not because I forgot, but because it's educational, okay? Believe me. Or no, hold on. That works on GUI. That might not work on here. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. Oh no, that actually won't work. Yes, that won't work for sure. What we're going to do, oh yeah, so okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's get this, why does it need cam? Oh, okay, I guess it does need that. And cam, I assume, yeah, it's just camera.main. Okay, so let's make vector 3.position. Nope, not that one. Or I guess vector 3 pos equals camera, capital C camera, dot main, dot camera to world point, was it? Screen to world point. Dot screen to world point. And then it takes a position and an eye. What? It should take a near clip plane. Oh, no, that's just what they did. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So it takes a position of a new vector 3 we'll do commas for this and then 0. So what we put in the commas, I think, should be what we have in here. So since we have, actually this is important, we added the canvas. Oh, god damn it. There it is. Okay, so we added the event system. We need this. So if you didn't add the canvas, add it, or add the canvas, it'll give you an event system, or add, where is it? It should be here. It should be an event system. There it is. UI event system. You don't really need the canvas. You do need the event system because by default, what that does is it will maintain variables on where the mouse is. So like, I'm pretty sure without the event system in your scene, this event.current thing won't work.
Where does it need to?
So let me copy this, and then I'll get this.
So is it okay? My roommate also told me like what he was doing at least was he had a game objects thing, and then he was basically taking like all the images or whatever objects he was gonna have, and he was putting it under that, like a separate game objects thing. I currently only have 2 things in there.
And wait, so what was he planning on doing after that?
I'm not sure. He just told me to put it under there, like when I'm importing it into the scene.
I mean,
Is there like a specific place I should be?
no, I mean, like, so, I mean, how you structure your scene is up to you. Now, like, if it's background art, right, so, you know, what I would do is I would say in Unity, like, oh my god. Okay. You know, I would say, like, let's just say I'm trying to do the background art, reset this, you know, background, right? And then I'd add all of the, you know, elements that would go there, right? So in this case, I would add the background sprite in here.
Yeah.
And then for the player, I'd make like, you know, the player object. And again, I don't know what your roommate is doing. The nice thing about Unity compared to like Unreal or in other things is that it's really loose, right? Again, I can just create an empty, you can shove it anywhere, put anything in that, put that anywhere. Obviously, because it's really loose, you can make it really messy. So just organize it however you think is necessary in scene.
But this crosshair that we're adding, this has to be in a specific form.
It doesn't, no, so, well, sort of. Actually, okay. For you, it's going to be particular. So for you, it wouldn't be in the scene because it's if you're setting the cursor. For you, what I would do is I would create a script, and I'll just make this really quick divergence. Let's just say cursor setter, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to have a cursor setter script, because what you're going to want to do is at the beginning of the thing, let's make this cursor setter. Come on now. You going to do it?
So I'm applying this cursor setter to the crosshair.
So apply it anywhere. It doesn't actually matter because this is just going to do, we just need this script to run somewhere. You don't need it attached to anything. Now, you shouldn't have a cursor object. There's no cursor object in your scene. That doesn't exist. So just have some object that you can just call it cursor setter, frankly. And within this, on start, actually, so first let me just say public. I think it's a texture 2D. You're going to have a texture 2D of your cursor. And I think if I Google this, I'll open the code up again. Unity set cursor code. Set cursor. Fantastic. Okay. So in the code, you create a public texture. Then what you do is you C cursor dot set cursor. Set. What, does it not exist? What are you doing? This should, come on now. Cursor dot set cursor. Does it not exist? What are you doing?
Oh, do you have to like use it, like import it?
No. I mean, oh, hold on. Wait, no.
No, system's fine.
System.collections is already there. That's weird. On mouse. Oh, hold on. No, it's mono behavior. Cursor.set cursor. Why do you not exist? This is the same. What? Did I not spell it right? Cursor, C-U-R-S-O-R. Yeah,
Capitalized probably.
I did. All right, well, we'll figure this out later. Presumably there should be a function that does this. I don't know why it's not working. Cursor. Cursor texture. I don't know what hotspot means. Oh, hotspot is where on the cursor is the 0 point. So if it's in the center, this would be vector 2.0. And then cursor mode, I don't know what that means. Auto is probably fine. You just look, you just Google it. Is what you're gonna have to do, because I'm not spending time on figuring out the cursor stuff. For this one, you get the current event. Current event dot mouse position. Actually, frankly, I don't even need this mouse pos thing. Get rid of that. I don't need that. This one dot x dot y, and then I do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say transform position
Oh, okay.
equal pos. What's up?
Nothing. I thought I got it to work for a second with that red line.
Yeah, I mean, you'll just have to look it up. I don't know what's going on with it. This should work, I hope. Otherwise, I'll look kind of. I will look the fool. But we'll see. Hold on, no point. What's going on here? Oh, wait, what? Camera dot, that's not, it shouldn't be null. I hate it. That doesn't make any sense, because by default, main camera should be the main camera. Okay, you know what? Because I don't want to mess with this. Public camera, and then rather than do this, camera.main should, so like what happens is, see how Unity by default, it knows to choose this camera here, right?
Yeah.
The fact that it's rendering from this one means that this is the main camera, because the main camera is the one that's on right now. If I add another camera, it's like, okay, this is the main camera now. This is the one I render from. That's what the capital C camera.main should reference. I don't know why that didn't work. But since I don't care anymore, I'm just going to do this. And we're just going to directly reference it because sure. What do you mean? Hides, oh my God, cam. Unity also has default instance variables or whatever for mono behaviors, and you hide them. I don't know why it does, because you never use them. I guess in some sense, rather than having to do get component, you can use them, I think. I don't even, right, because like, you know how you can use, transform, right, and that just works. I think camera also works, so whatever camera thing is attached. Now again, that's not the main camera, that is whatever camera is attached to this current object. So in this case, this object wouldn't have one. If this object had a rigid body, I think that's also one. No, maybe not, okay. There are some of them, like some don't have it, it's really annoying. I wish they just wouldn't assume that. Transform should be the only thing that you should, like, is on everything. Regardless, now if we look at this, not this, we don't want that one, we want this one. We have this camera. Drag that main camera in there, and let's see if this works now.
So what exactly, so two things. So what exactly is event? Like what does event do? And what exactly is camera.main.screen4.2?
Okay, so actually, the camera.main did work. Okay, so apparently the current event doesn't exist. I don't know why it doesn't, because it should. So if we go back, because again, we have an event system. It should be working. current event, Unity, get mouse position. Oh, all right. Let's just do this one, not event. Screw it. Okay, so I'll explain this because this should be that, not this one. Input. Okay. So capital C. So these are scripts or objects. The reason it's capital is camera.main is a static variable of the camera class. So that just means this is more for your convenience. They didn't actually have to do this. Again, by default, you're like, without this, you could just make the public camera thing. You can actually get rid of it now. But camera.main just means whatever camera we're currently rendering from. You can actually render from multiple, so I think it chooses one if there are multiple. If you have co-op, right? If you can have top and bottom. But I think there's only one camera main. But yeah, so camera.main in this case, it's only coincidentally called main camera by default. Your camera can be called anything, and it will be the main camera as long as it's the one that's selected.
And then screen to world point, what is that?
Yes, so what this does is screen space is, okay, nope, apparently not. There it goes. Okay, so screen space, the XY in this space, right, is 1024 by 768, right? So at here, it's 0, 0-ish. Down here, it's 1, 1. Or down here, it's 1024 or 768-ish, right? That's the pixel coordinate. That doesn't that doesn't match up well with the world, right? The world, 1 unit moving this way is that much, right? That's 1 unit. 1 unit for here is that, right? Less than that, right? This is why we have to do screen to world point. What this is saying is, okay, take this mouse position, shoot a ray cast.
Yeah, I was looking up stuff to do with the mouse, and
Yeah.
there was one thing I found that didn't really help me with what I was looking for, but it was camera.main screen point to ray.
Yeah, so that one would also, for that one, there's screen point to ray, which is shooting a ray. I assume it'll create a ray or a vector that is from the frustum, from the camera out to the frustum. Sorry, hold on, let me click on the camera to show you. So imagine, see this pyramid thing? That's the frustum. What that one would do, I think, no, you can look this up, but I'm pretty sure. What that one will do is that will take, I can't show that here. Okay, I'll just do it with the mouse. It'll take a point that's right like that origin right there from the camera and shoot it out through that that plane back there. Now, kind of.
That's kind of the understanding I got, because one thing I was trying to get, this is kind of another problem, I might talk to you about it later, but I was trying to get my idea is I want to click on an object, and if I hit, then it should blink. So I was trying to get
Yes.
where apparently according to this solution was I shoot a ray from what I assume was the camera. It shoots a ray, and then if that object that's going by intersects that ray, then it considers that game one.
Yes, and that's what you would do. That's what I did here with this one, right? Now, yours, if you want to do just 2D, do it on the canvas. Okay, so in that case, don't even do this. So this is 3D. This is why I need that, right? I need to shoot a ray out of the camera into these 3D objects. Again, if you're at home, you might not be seeing this. I'm sorry. Right? So I need to see these. I need to shoot a ray. For you, if it's 2D, just on the just make it in the canvas. In the canvas, everything just works. You can create a clickable object. You can just make it a button or whatever, and you can just click on that. I think there might be ways of doing it custom, but frankly, just make it a button and then just change the button to look like not a button, right? If it's Duck Hunt, just make it a duck, and you just click on the duck, and all right, you hit it, cool. And then you can do other things, you can move it around in the canvas, which is fine. Only if you need to make it from 2D to 3D will you need this, screen to ray or screen to world point. Again, I think this should work. Again, I'm fairly certain that input.mouse position is in pixel coordinates. Maybe it is not. Let's actually look at this. Where is it now? Why is it not moving? What's going on? Ugh. I should have actually like prepared, maybe. Oh, hold on. It's because it's behind the thing. It should transfer into position. I could have, yeah, screen point to ray, mouse position. Yeah, no, and that should just work. And the, oh, you know, it shouldn't be should it be at 0? Let's just do camera.main.clipping plane. Let's try that. Again, I'm figuring stuff out. You know, that's fine. Okay. Oh, hold on. So you can see it in the scene move. So just, it might just be really far away. Oh yeah, the Z is 990. That's good stuff. So yeah, it's just really far away. Let's make it not that. Let's make it 10. And see what that gives us. There you go. Yeah, so that's how, this is the more general case, right? So if you just wanted to move a thing around with your mouse, you can just attach a sprite to it, and it does this. So every frame, I am getting, I'm taking the mouse position, I'm making it into world space. Note that, again, that Z vector, the Z coordinate, that matters, right? Because if it's very far away, you won't see it. If it's like 0, it might be behind the camera and you can't see it either. In fact, if it's behind the camera, it won't work at all, because if it's behind the camera, it doesn't know how mathematically that doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're trying to project forward. Or if it's like, exactly on the plane of the camera, it's like, I don't know what to do with that. Actually, no, it does know what to do with it. Remember, it was saying at 0, 0 when I made it at 0. It's because the camera, I think, is at 0, 0. And so the frustum converges at 0, 0. So in fact, it was moving it exactly as it should have, in that it didn't, right? Because it's a point. It shouldn't move. So yeah, so I made it 10. That's far away enough. Now it moves, correctly. And then I set the position, whatever. Yeah, cool, awesome. It's like 6:30. I have to go. I have time for questions, though, if you have any. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Now, granted, I didn't show you guys how to do like collisions and stuff. For you, actually, let me do that right quick. If you add, or not this, add a component of, for the arrow, you should do like a what is it? Is it 2D collider? Box collider. I would do a box collider, make it 2F, and then make that collider, I don't know, have like a thin, have like a thin Y. Presumably your sprite will be the correct size, so you wouldn't have to resize the box. Make it a box. Then add, I think you need a rigid body 2D to do collisions. But note, not that. What are we trying to do? We will want to freeze its rotation. We will want to get rid, and we'll want to make it kinematic. And I think that's what we want, because then what will happen is this will be considered in 2D, like it'll be considered as a 2D physics object such that you can do collision detection on it, but it won't actually do the physics, right? So actually, if we made this dynamic, where is it? It's because it fell. Yeah. So yeah. And then what you do is, like you did with Flappy Bird, you can just add on collision enter. Actually, I think there is on collision enter collision 2D. Yeah, collision enter 2D. So for your arrow, on collision enter 2D. If it's a, and then like, you just have, let me print here, I'll print dead. And then I will add, come on now. We'll add another sprite, 2D object, sprite. We will reset the transform. We'll make it this little box. We make it 10 by 10 by 10. Move that over here. Add a box collider to it. Add a rigid body to it. Rigid body, what? Oh, does it already have one? What? Can't add, because it conflicts with the existing box collider derived. Oh, does it? Oh. What? Does it just do that by default? Oh. But, what? Oh, never mind. Box collider is a 3D box collider. I should have added a 2D box collider. That was the issue. So go back to box collider 2D. Now it's fine. So make this one kinematic as well, right? Because what you're going to do is you're going to be controlling the stuff, how it's moving, right? You don't want it. I mean, in theory, you can have it work with physics, right? So you could move it up here, and actually it would fall. And then dead. Perfect, right? And that works. Or if you want it to be, if you want to control how it moves, right? You can just add a script, much like the Flappy Bird tutorial. You can just add a script that makes it move in a direction, but then also make it. Actually, I don't even know if you needed a rigid body in this one. I think you can just say nothing. Yeah, so if you just want to move it yourself, you can. Because I think, no, I guess not. Really? That's garbage. Okay, I guess I do need a rigid body. So you can add a rigid body, just make this one also kinematic. Or static, probably? Yeah, just make it static. Actually, no. If it's static, that means it doesn't move at all. So make it kinematic. In this case, if you want to have a ground, let's say. What are you doing? Maybe it just doesn't. Okay, guys, I don't like physics. I hate it. I hate it. It's the worst. It's really bad. It never works the way I want it to. Are you joking right now? All right, I don't even care anymore. You're gonna have to figure it out. Legit, when physics works, it's like if it works intuitively, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. I just don't have to worry about it. When it doesn't work, it's like it doesn't work entirely, and I hate it. Just kind of look it up. There's an answer out there. I guarantee it. It's just so persnickety. I don't know. In theory, I guess, as a quick fix, you can make it dynamic, but then remove gravity and then also freeze everything. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be real angry. There you go, dead. So we got it. You can do it if you make it still. I think in theory you can just kind of continue to move it in whatever direction you want. But yeah, so that's how you do that theoretically. And you can do the same with like your duck hunt-esque thing if you would like. Obviously the cursor thing is probably a bit easier, especially if you do it on the canvas. But yeah, that's that. If you have any specific questions, I'll be here for a bit. But for the stream, bye, I guess.